This is Matt Russell, and welcome to the DailyFX Forum.
So welcome to the DailyFX Forum highlights video for 4 a.m. here on November 6th with the NFP release imminent. Just moving forward here, scrolling through some of the threads, some questions here. Who are FXCM's non-commercial clients mentioned in the day trading course? Are they companies using FXCM to book currency to make payments in foreign currency? Well, in terms of how we delineate the non-commercial clients, I mean, that category is just non-commercial clients. So there's commercial banks and there's non-commercial banks, if you will, or everybody else. So there's a lot of people in that category, including companies, who are using, let's say, FXCM to hedge or something like that. But for the most part, we're talking about individual retail clients. The second question here: dollar Swiss has almost always had the highest long bar in positioning. Surely, with that many long orders, the pair will rise before it drops. Well, that sentence right there, you have to be extremely careful when making statements such as that, because that conveys a sense of confidence which you should never ever have in the market. The way I like to view SSI and even extreme readings in SSI is sort of like viewing a chart from across the room, let's say, and from across the room you can tell whether or not a pair is in a strong uptrend. And it's sort of the same thing with SSI in terms of and the time it takes. Let me go back to the example I was giving before. The time it takes for you to determine whether or not that pair is in a strong trend, it's just a glance, maybe a few seconds. So in the few seconds that you glance SSI, and let's say it's giving a signal in a certain direction, that's sort of what you do. So you just, I would put that in my head. Let's say SSI at -2 or +2 or -3 or +3, and it's just sort of in my head and it's back there. So it's giving me a direction, but then I have to go and find the favorable risk to reward setup. Speaking of which, I just want to highlight the scalping trades this evening, and essentially tell you, how I'm trading pre NFP. I am trading the crosses, but not trading the euro specifically. But if you recall the last several videos, using this 48.80 area as resistance, and there were two trades since I spoke. I mentioned this trade right down here, and we can see the prices hit the 48.80 area here and then sold off and then hit it once again here. Actually penetrated it by a pip or two, but I mentioned to have the stop above 48.90, and then we had a little bit of a sell-off too. So there were two 10-pip trades there off the 48.80 area, and again, that's how I would trade NFP, and this is how I would trade actually this is what I'll be doing during the release of NFP. Again, I just, there's no reason, at least personally, I just avoid that high vol, period after NFP. It's sort of like, there's a huge, I like to give the analogy, like, let's say there's a huge battle the next day, and all the soldiers are sitting around. But you have the opportunity to go and gather some resources in the middle of the battlefield and then, split town. And that's essentially the way I look at it, because the next day it's going to be, it's going to be chaos. And I don't want to be involved in that. It's very hard to manage my risk. So again, I'll just be sleeping during NFP. Made my few pips actually in the euro pound tonight and Aussie Kiwi. But the trades were there as well in the euro. But now as we're getting closer, it's sort of like, I made those 10 pips. Possibly, again, if prices come up to 48.80, we might take another shot on a short trade. The only thing is, the more times this line is tested, the less confidence I'm going to have. We can see, ideally I'd like to see prices actually meandering down here all the way to the 48.60 area, but they haven't, so that indicates the possibility for some strength. But again, I don't really, that's it. As long as there's just a little bit of doubt in my mind, I'm splitting town. Again, this is Matt Russell. Thanks for listening.